Today we're going to keep this episode, or this series of about anger going. I was out here dismantling a table. Here it is. There's the table. There are the legs. It's all part of this backyard sprucing up and remodel. And I tripped. I stubbed my toe on one of those legs that I just showed you, that I took off the table. And it totally jammed my pinky toe. So obviously there was the initial expletives, which is appropriate and well warranted if I don't say so myself. You know, a good F-bomb here and there really satisfies the initial jolt of pain you experience when you stub your toe. And here's the cool part in this in this discovery of anger is I let the pain happen. I was like, oh yeah, that really hurts. And then I had a moment to decide where I was going to go next, right? Like where I would normally go, where I've been going, in the spirit of anger, not having things the way I want, when I want, how I want, would be like, I shouldn't have stubbed my toe. I should be more coordinated. Those things shouldn't have been there. That shouldn't have happened, right? And so then I passed that first jolt of anger where I stubbed my toe, which is totally an appropriate response. I would then take that and I would continue down the road of blaming, projecting, and just living in a story called, it shouldn't be that way. That shouldn't have happened. And that could have, I don't know, the residue of that could have lasted for 10 minutes, could have lasted an hour. I don't know, could have set off my whole day to go a different direction. So let's call this, for example, let's call this first anger, second anger. Years ago, I heard, I think it was actually from Gary Keller, but years ago, I took a class called Quantum Leap, which Gary Keller wrote. And Gary Keller is the author of The One Thing, by the way. And in the program, he talked about first creation, second creation, which I don't actually think was his thing, but I think first creation, second creation was like first we create a thought in our mind, and then we create, and then there's the second creation of what that thought turns into in reality, right? But it came to me a day that there's like a first anger, second anger, isn't there? There's the first thing, the trigger, the thing like stubbing your toe. And then there's second anger, which is what do you do after that initial trigger? Do you continue to embellish and live inside the story of that anger, creating thus a second lifespan of that anger, a continuation of that anger? Or if you can detach, as we talked about in yesterday's episode, if you could detach from the moment and be present with the pain, be present with the fact that my toe hurts, be present with the fact that that just happened, rather than saying it shouldn't have been that way. Now I actually can open up into something new. There can be a new creation rather than a continuation of the anger I just experienced, right? So we're going to call this first anger, second anger. And you could probably apply this to a lot of other things, right? First jealousy, second jealousy. But there is the thought, there's the first thought, and then there's your second thought, yes? You don't always control your first thought. Sometimes it's just a trigger and it happens. But you do control your second thought. And that's what I've done a lot of that kind of work in my life. But as it relates to anger, now I'm starting to press into that. Like, okay, let's take that same lesson and apply it now into anger. Okay,